So compounding interest.
This is why when you hear compounding interest, it sounds stupid, but
When you're 15 years old,
5 years is a third of your actual life. It's half of your memorable life. So 5 years is a long fucking time. That's why when you were younger, it seemed like it took forever for summer break to get there, or forever for you to be able to go to spring break or Christmas. And then it seemed like forever till you got your car, and then forever till you turned 21. But then all of a sudden, life starts picking up, starts going faster.
when you're 25 years old,
It's only 20% of your life. So all of a sudden, your brain understands time, and the reference is much different. So it doesn't seem as long.
when you turn 50,
5 years is 1/10 of how long you've been alive. 10%. And that's why as you get older, time starts speeding up, not just because of the mundaneness of life and everything like that. So when you're younger, you think of long-term investing as this really far off fucking thing, right? Oh my God, 10 years from now? Oh my Jesus Christ, that's insane. When you're 50, you're like, I'm gonna be 60 in like a few weeks, man. Like from a rate reference.
so compounding interest is very simple the same way, right? You start putting money in and
It gains 5%, 7%,
10% a year, but 10% of $100 is only $10.
So when you're looking at that, you're like, I'm never gonna get there. But as you keep adding and as it keeps compounding,
Then you get to $1,000.
well, now it's $100. So now every year or every month, whatever it is, instead of getting $10, you're adding the same amount every time, but now you're getting $100. Well, guess what? In only 10 of those references, that becomes the initial, and you've added to this.
Then you get to 10,000.
Now when you hit 10%,
It's 1,000 each time.
but here's where compounding kicks in.
You get to 100,000. They always say the first $100,000 is the hardest to make, right?
Hardest to save, hardest to invest. But here you go. Now
Now it's $10,000 a pop.
in the same amount of time it took you to get $10 here, you're getting 10,000 passively.
Now you get to $1 million. Now it's $100,000.
That's why they say it's insane.
Once you slowly get here, it looks like this.
If you need a visualization, right?
Right? So go from year 1 to year 30, right? Let's just, for example.
For the first, it's like amortization on your mortgage, right? That's why I say, if you have a couple extra bucks, throw it at your mortgage, because
Here's what happens. Here's your loan amount, right? And you pay every single month, and your loan amount is just sitting there like this. Then it starts to do this, and then it drops off. Because you pay all the interest up front, right? It's like the reverse compounding. So when you look at it from this standpoint,
it seems like it's this slow grinding process. It sucks. It just seems like
it's like, oh, I'm not getting it, I'm not getting it, but it goes here.
And I'll give you an example. I like visualizations. The stock market has averaged about 7% to 10% a year for the past 100 years or whatever. When somebody looks at the S&P 500 right now, they say this is unsustainable. This thing is unsustainable. But it's also showing you how compounding works. Look, give it the same increase each time. The more valuable, the higher the price is. Each 1%. So in 2000 in let's say 2011 or 2011, 10% on the S&P 500 or the SPX was 100 basis points. The same 10% today is 700 basis points. You see the difference? Same percentage gain. If the S&P 500 gained 10% when it was 180, right? And it went up to 98 or whatever, 1200, you'd be like, oh, okay. But when it's valued so high, the same increase is much more because of that compounding factor. Doesn't money printing cause this as well? Oh, there's many, many, many reasons. We're not talking about the S&P 500. I'm trying to show you an example of what compounding interest looks like if you were to put it in a chart compared to the S&P 500. Like if this was your retirement account or your investment account. That's why starting younger, no matter if you have $1 a day, $10 a day, $50 a week, $100 a month, just getting started investing, even if it's just robo investing or daily investing or dollar cost averaging, is insane. Because once you get, it seems like it's a waste. You'll never get there. Oh, I have to get $100,000 to start making $1,000. Oh, that's insane. But it adds up fast and it compounds on top of itself. Stocky teaching chat about exponential scaling they should have learned in the 8th grade. Financial literacy in America in the world is absolutely abysmal. It's not that people are stupid, they're just not taught this stuff. The fact that you wrote out exponential scaling, I guarantee you that if you went out on the streets of anywhere in America and you said, can you explain to me what exponential scaling is? I would put more money than I own, than I have, that less than 10% of people could answer your question. That's how dumb you sound. You're trying to sound so smart, you sound dumb. This is just a fact. Financial literacy is abysmal around the world, and especially in America, and that's by design. How come they don't teach this at school, though? I wish my parents insisted on me investing, too. It's not just investing. It's financial literacy as a whole. Guys, I don't want to whiteboard the same shit over and over again, but I will. You're supposed to be financially stupid. That's the design. That's literally the design. So it is by design that we're supposed to be financially literate. Our entire economy is propped up on financial illiteracy. If everybody knew how to budget, okay, I'm gonna do it anyways, fuck you. Financial illiteracy is by design. I'm not kidding you. This isn't a conspiracy. This is legitimately by design. Our entire economy depends on it. This is the reason that instead of learning about budgeting and how interest works and APR versus APY or compounding or understanding how financing works or amortization works, no, you're learning fucking algebra and calculus, okay? Because everybody knows that the Pythagorean theorem fucking is in your daily fucking life. If I hadn't learned that, holy shit, I would be dead right now. A squared plus B squared equals C squared, where the fuck that shit was. MXY equals D's nuts in your mouth. Some math nerd went to school and spent 200 grand to get a math degree so he could teach 10th grade fucking calculus to a bunch of horny, sleepy fucking teenagers who didn't give a shit. No, that was important. That was important, not the rest of it, right? So when you go out into the world, get your first credit card, it is by design, okay? This is by design. You are supposed to be stupid because we're a consumer economy. And if everybody understood how money works, how debt works, how interest works, how compounding works, how investing works, they would stop spending all their fucking money. One of the most powerful blocks of our country is the financial services. I'm not talking about banks that hold your money for you. I'm talking about hedge funds, retirement accounts, money that's tied to all that. When you're financially illiterate, you don't know how to invest your money or how to handle your money. So they all use these big trigger words and these big numbers and these Bloomberg terminals. Bloomberg terminal is the biggest fucking scam I have ever seen. Literally a scam. It has been a scam. I'm sorry I'm going to say this because I'm not bought and paid for by anybody. I can't wait for AI to take down the Bloomberg terminal. Do you know why? Because 90% of the people who had a Bloomberg terminal didn't even know how to trade or underperform the S&P 500 on a goddamn yearly basis every year. But they just owned it to say, I own a Bloomberg terminal. That's what I hear when I hear all these fucking people online spouting all their fucking bullshit about how this. Bloomberg terminals are bullshit. You know the only thing Bloomberg terminals were really good for? Fucking Bloomberg, okay? And in the beginning, in the 80s and 90s, it was good because it was the only place to get the aggregate of the data. But if you've owned a Bloomberg terminal in the last 10 years, you're a cuck, okay? I'm sorry, you are. If you paid 10 grand a month for that, you're a cuck, bro. Walter Bloomberg, the guy, or fucking Twitter shit has more breaking news, faster breaking news, and more accurate information. But I'm getting off topic. This is by design. You are supposed to be. We can't have everybody. I don't want everybody to be financially literate. I'm being dead serious with you. I don't. I want to help people who want to be helped or want to learn about this shit and just get better. I don't want 99.9% of American people to be financially literate because everyone would stop spending and then our economy would collapse and we'd all be fucking I don't want that shit. I don't like the way it is, but it's what's got the engine rolling. You know what I mean? I may not like the car I'm in, but we're going 60 miles an hour down the street and down the interstate. And I'm like, you know what? Let's just keep the engine going. Okay. It's not a good engine. It's the wrong engine, but the car's working and I really don't want to fucking die. You know what I mean? So what I want to do is help people understand, like I said before, what I like to do is the rat race is here and everybody's in it. And there's a bunch of fucking bigwigs, the fucking rich that make money off of them. And it's not just all fucking people with a fucking monopoly, which, fun fact, the Monopoly guy never had a monocle. We just started thinking about that because of Ace Ventura. Never had one. And the fucking wealthy people are extracting all that wealth, right? So all you tankies out there can be like, oh my God, he's one of us. He knows about the 0.1% that are extracting wealth from everybody like this. They're also it is what it is. I want you're not going to be this person. You're not in this club. You'll never be in this club. Unless you're born into this club or you are humped into this club, you ain't in this club. What I want you to do is break free from here, stand here with a little net, and catch some of those bills on the way over. That's what I want you to do. This is a visualization of how shit works. This is the rat race with everybody, right? Fear and greed.
Everyone lives in the fear and greed
Hamster wheel. Oh my God, this is the new thing. Oh my God, I gotta have this so I get laid. Oh, this will make me look good. Oh, I'll get into this club. Oh, people will think I'm cool. Oh, I'll get more following. Yeah, let me buy more. Let me buy more. Let me buy more. Oh shit, I don't have enough money. I gotta get back to work. I gotta work overtime. I'm in debt. I gotta take buy now, pay later. I better pay this off. Shit, let me do that. Oh, okay, I'm caught up on my bills. Okay, let me do this again. People are gonna think I'm poor. I better buy this kind of furniture and this kind of car. Okay, good. Oh shit, now I gotta do this, pay it off. Let them keep going. All the while, that money is being extracted by a very small group of people. It's not that they're forcibly extracting it. This isn't like they did back during the male shortages in the medieval times when there were men that actually got tied down and women took turns on top of them to get pregnant. That's not what I'm talking about. This is the cycle. People don't understand it, so they stay in this debt and cycle and this fear and greed cycle, right? And so what happens is that money is flowing out. You can step in here every now and then and have some fun, but you're sitting out here saying, all right, let me catch those dollars, because the stock market's rigged in your favor if you get out of your way, because that money's going to keep flowing. But if you save money and don't spend it all, and you can use that money to invest in the things that these guys are extracting that wealth into, you can catch some of those bills too. Stocky, so you're saying that we should just be comfortable with just surviving above and just be eating the table scraps of the rich? Motherfucker, you got two options. You can do this or you can do this. I'm just telling you, teaching you how to do this. And then when this keeps happening, you're building up wealth. You're never going to be up here, but you got your wealth here. Then all of a sudden, you got your pick of the litter. You know what I mean? So remember, financial literacy is by design.
That is why in school you were learning about, what is it? Y equals MX plus B.
I remember that shit. I've never used it. I remember that's a formula instead of
APR versus APY.
But calculus teaches critical thinking. No, it doesn't. No, it fucking doesn't. Because nobody's paying attention. It's a waste of time. It's giving some fucking math nerd a job.
Oh yeah, MX plus B. Whatever.
This is not teaching you critical thinking. Who the fuck said, well, we have to teach calculus because it teaches critical thinking? You know how many other fucking critical thinking things I could use that I could stick and I could use in my life? Like APR, right?
Hookers, weed.
That's how you remember it. And you think economics are exciting for a teenager? I didn't say it was more exciting. I said at least it's something that people will use if they do pay attention to it. So you're telling me that we should continue to keep advanced calculus, trigonometry, and advanced algebra as opposed to financial education? You can't. You can't, because it's by design. One kid in that entire class may use something that has to do with calculus, trigonometry in their life. But every single kid is going to be touched by money, or their uncle at Thanksgiving. It's a different scenario here, but we don't want that because we do not want everyone to be financially literate. It would destroy the system. How would it destroy the system? Because if everyone was financially literate, we wouldn't be consumers. We wouldn't be propping up and buying shit and keeping, everything afloat by being consumers and going into debt, which then keeps us. Do you think that everybody in America is working overtime and slaving away at their job because they just enjoy what the fuck they do? It's because they have to survive, right? Because they have to buy things. And part of the reason things get more expensive is because people just keep buying shit. People that have more money and excess money will just keep buying shit, which then drives up the price for all the people who do not have money, and then forces them to have to work more. It's not just the fucking people that buy things. It's the debt cycle. The financial services industry makes an ungodly amount of money off of the illiteracy. It's not just propping up the economy, it is keeping these institutions, which would be great if they were down, alive. The amount of people who pay. I'm not even kidding you. You guys are, whenever I say that, okay, I'll go back to AP. I came up with this analogy a long time ago, and somebody told me, he said that might be the only way I would have learned that, so I'll get back to it. But understand something. When I say, guys, check your 401k expense ratio or fees, you don't see that because when you go into HR, they give this big packet, and you look at all the different options, and it shows you, yearly average return or some shit. And what does everybody do? Whichever one has the highest percentage yearly return on average over the past 10 years. Boom. But what they don't realize is that that's not indicative of future gains, number one. And number two, they don't look at how much that expense fee is. And I say, well, if 1.5%, no one has a 1.5% anymore. Stocky, stop fear-mongering. Competition has brought that down. The amount of people who come back after look at their 401k and say, shit, Stocky, mine was 1.3 or mine was 1.7.
That's 30 to 40% of your retirement wiped out.
Just that one little nugget of knowledge is the difference between somebody actually retiring and never retiring. Because they don't know, they think 1.5% is just 1.5% of the total.
So if based on the amount of money, the amount of money that I'm putting in, if I'm expected to have $2.2 million by the time I'm in retirement,
and they take 1.5%, oh, that's fine. That's no big deal. Still leaves me with like, that's nothing, right? That's 25%, $30,000. That's easy. No, this is the part why it's important for education. Oh, I have education. I know what percentages are, Stocky. You're wasting my time. No,
your education tells you 1.5% of 2.2 million is what? $25,000 around there, right? Or $30,000?
But financial education would tell you that compounds yearly. That means 1.5% of the total amount you have every year, and if you're lucky it's not broken up quarterly, is extracted from you no matter how good or bad they're performing. Which means that money is not going to make it to the compounding at the end. So 30 to potentially 40%, depending on when you retire, is money of gains of money you would have to retire that's never going to get there because these motherfuckers took it. So now guess what? You're going to get to retirement. You're going to look at your retirement account and say, all right, I'm a couple years from retirement. I should have around 2 million. I should be there. And you're looking down and you're like, what? I've planned on living off of the interest of the 2.2 million at a 7% increase with a 3% leftover for inflation and 4% withdrawal rate. I can't live off of that. Where did all my money go? That's the difference. And they're going to do that times hundreds of thousands of people. That's why you see these big firms and funds have fucking trillions of dollars of under asset. When you see somebody have $1 trillion
under asset, right? Assets under management.
And forget the whole 2 and 20. Just so you know, ooh, the boomers got it so lucky. No, boomers had to fucking pay a 2 and 20. Okay, when you hear 2 and 20, that means they took a 2% management fee and 20% of any of the profits over a certain number. That was fucked up.
$1 trillion assets under management. Let's imagine they average 1% a year compounding on that.
Just off of that. That's $10 billion in profit for doing nothing but matching the S&P 500 or barely above it. These are those little things. Somebody reached out yesterday on my YouTube video about the car insurance thing. Somebody came in here yesterday and said, Stocky, I listened about the thing. I shopped around car insurance after I watched the stream, saved $900. $900 on their insurance, their car insurance, just because they didn't know about, because the only education you get is all these car insurance companies are like, oh my God, you stay with me, we give you these loyalty things, we do this, we do that. Geico says, 15%, whatever, 50% doesn't sound shit. It doesn't stick in your life, and the next thing you know, all that money is being extracted from you on a daily basis. More money than you should be paying on car insurance, more money than your health insurance, not having an HSA, the 1.5%, it's just pulling you a million ways. Because that's what the financial service industry, everybody makes money. It's like when you buy a house, everybody's fucking making money off of you. So nobody's giving you information to save you money or to get you a better deal because everyone is making a buck off of you. There are people out there who will refinance their house down every 0.1%, thinking they're doing something good, not realizing that they just lost more money than twice as much money as they will ever save if they hold the loan for 30 years every time they do that. But they're not going to hold the hand because the average time frame before somebody sells a house that they buy is 12 years. They're just losing. The bank, it's like the fucking scene from Scarface where he's laughing and the guy's fucking counting money every time.